So I was just sitting there thinking that, I think it's pretty safe to say that over the last sort of 10, 15 years, the right have sort of held sway. The right of politics have sort of won the working class vote. Think back to Farage, think back to Brexit, famously Boris Johnson smashing the northern red wall. It just got me thinking why. Why? The working class's natural home was always the left. They were the ones that were championing them to get better wages, better working conditions, more affordable council housing, these sort of things. But something happened over the last 10, 15 years where I guess they just felt the left wasn't listening to them anymore. Now, I think there's a number of reasons for this. There's money involved, media, things like that. But there's one topic that I want to touch on and talk about today, and that's middle-class left-wing elitism, and this main point of why working class folks just feel like the left are not listening to them anymore, because times are hard, man. Times are hard at the moment. We hear a lot about the people that are in absolute dire poverty at the moment, and rightly so, we should. But also just your low-income workers. It's tough out there. It's really tough. We can't afford the same things that we used to be able to before. We used to be able to afford to go out, have a few drinks with my mates, maybe go play some pool or hire that five-a-side football pitch for a kickabout, whatever your thing is, we used to be able to do more things. Even just going out for a meal with your missus or whatever, it's just costs so much. And then you've just got the constant stress and worry about money. 1 week you think you'll be doing all right. You think, I've had a good week this week. Maybe we can afford to treat ourselves. And then bang, one of your kids needs new shoes, or the washing machine breaks, or you completely forgot that the car insurance is due next month. You just got this constant stress of worry, of money, not being able to do the things that you used to be able to do. And then, you kind of look around, you think, the government's not really helping us, but always seem to have money for asylum seekers, don't they? Yeah, always make sure that the asylum seekers are housed and looked after, aren't they? And what's this bloody extra green tax on my electric bill? These guys expect me to pay for their green nonsense, do they? And what about all this immigration that's coming into my small little northern town? That's yet more competition for jobs. Now, I'm not saying this stuff is right or wrong. I'm not coming at this with any sort of political angle. I'm just saying how it is. This is happening. This is what's happening. And when these folks try and speak up about this stuff, they get sneered at. They get looked down on. They get called a racist or a bigot or a knuckle-dragging idiot. And even some of them may have the bottle to ring up James O'Brien and talk about their problems, just to get absolutely hammered, ridiculed, and humiliated on live radio. I mean, the James O'Brien show is basically just the modern day version of the Jeremy Kyle show. Let's just get a load of working class people on the show, ridicule them, make them look stupid. And even I get this stuff, man. Even I get this stuff. As a supposed left-leaning political commentator, I get this stuff thrown at me as well. I've done a previous video highlighting an incident that happened in Brighton last week with 3 asylum seekers and a woman on Brighton Beach. And I get all this stuff thrown at me. I get called a racist for bringing up this topic. Racist, racist, racist. And then the real kicker was this comment, which is a comment that I get frequently. It's not the first time I've had a comment like this. I get this sort of comment quite often, which is basically just, oi, you little working class oink. Go back to manual labour. Leave the politics to us. A couple of months back, I had a spat with a certain left-wing content creator on this topic. She said that I was a white privileged male, so, none of this stuff affects me. I don't have to worry about anything. I mean, she was specifically talking about issues of race and transphobia and stuff like that, but this is the problem. When people hear this stuff, when this sort of stuff gets thrown out in comment sections on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, all around the internet, when these sort of comments get thrown out that you don't have to worry, you're a white male, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff, it's frustrating. You're like, oh, okay, so the boiler never breaks in my house, does it? Or I have to fork out $2,000 from nowhere. Washing machine never breaks in my house. I never have to constantly stress about money all the time, do I? My life is rosy. And she made these comments just simply because I brought up the fact that I just don't think it's a good idea to constantly ridicule and mock the working class, which is what she does a lot of. An example, one joke she makes in one of her videos, it was during the height of summer. She said, "Oh, I'm sweating like a reform voter doing a spelling test." Yeah, you might think that's funny. But what are you actually trying to achieve by those jokes, other than just pure self-gratification and entertainment for your viewers? Are you going to convince reform voters of your way of thinking with comments like that? Are you going to get people on board by constantly ridiculing them, by taking the piss out of them for going to Wetherspoons? You know, why do we go to Wetherspoons? Because we can't afford to spend 30, 40 quid on a nice lunch somewhere else. Why are we bad at spelling? Maybe it's because we got left behind at school, and for some reason we entered a world that if you want to succeed in life, you have to be good at retaining information for an exam and spelling. And if you can't do those things, well, it's manual labour for you then. I'm terrible at spelling. I'm dyslexic, you know, and this is a problem, man. It's a real problem, because this is happening all over the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter. These sneers, it's just looking down on the working class. So is there any wonder that these people flock to Nigel Farage? Because at least he actually listens to them. He doesn't look down on them. He actually lets them speak about their problems. Now, ironically, the man doesn't have any solutions for the working class's problems. Okay, he might do something about immigration, but he's not going to actually tackle the real problems in your life. He's not going to make your wages any better. He's not going to give you any more union power. He's not going to make working conditions any better. He's certainly not going to create any more affordable housing. I mean, Richard Tice is a bloody multi-millionaire property investor. Do you think he's going to look out for you guys and get you affordable housing? No. And that's just what's so terrible about and so stupid about this whole situation, because I believe left-wing economics does have an answer for a lot of these problems. They will give you more union power, better wages, better working conditions. They'll certainly get more affordable housing for you. But the working class are not going to listen to you if you're just constantly insulting them all the time and looking down on them. You know, I've often said it's kind of like a business meeting, right? If you own a business and you're having a meeting, you're trying to attract more customers to use your business, you're not going to start insulting them. You're not going to start ridiculing them and looking down on them if you want to convince them of your argument. And it's the same thing, man. This stuff needs to stop. It needs to stop. And I think it's a big driving factor for why working class folks just don't want to listen to the left. Now, I also have the opinion that this is a two-way street as well. You know, working class folks have got to be more open and honest and stop doing the same thing back. You know, we just got this constant fight between your working classes and the middle classes. But we all know we need to work together because the real enemies are at the top, the multi-billionaires, the Richard Tices. They're the ones that are making life hell. We've got to stop fighting each other, man. We've got to stop this. Actually listen to people. Anyway, folks, if you enjoyed the video, if you took some value from this video today, I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video. I really want to push these videos out to as many people as possible, because I think these are important conversations to be had. And just stop, man. Just stop arguing in comment sections on both sides of the political debate. We need to stop this nonsense. All right, till next time, take care.